Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me now. Good morning everyone, how is everyone doing? Today is 4th of September and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. This is Indian Express Analysis. So without any further delay, let us start our today's discussion with the important articles of the day. The first article that we'll cover is relating to Digipin. Now what happens whenever you order something from e-commerce websites? You enter your address, but the most important part of your address becomes your PIN code, which highlights what is the related post office in which area your house falls under. Now Digipin is something more of a PIN code. Now in PIN code, there is only a number which highlights which is the nearby post office in your area. But Digipin would also provide the delivery person the exact geographical coordinates of your house. Yes, that is why Digipin has been introduced by Department of Post, and we'll look into it, which makes it important from GS Paper 3 perspective, be it in science and technology or be it Indian economy. In the second article, we are going to cover the concept of purchasing power parity. Why are we covering purchasing power parity? Because it is expected that India's GDP adjusted for purchasing power parity, based on that figure, India will become world's second largest economy in few years from now. From 2008 or 9, India continues to be the world's third largest economy by GDP in purchasing power parity, not in nominal terms. In nominal terms, we are fourth. So in that regard, understanding the concept of purchasing power parity becomes important. What is the concept? How it is calculated? We'll cover it in our today's session. Now this again is relevant from economy, hence the related paper is GS paper 3. In the third article, which is a polity related article, we'll understand the right to education and how it limits the impact on the minority education institutions. Now, the most important part of right to education is that in private unaided schools and colleges, there is a regulation, particularly in schools, that if it is a private and unaided school, still they have an obligation to provide 25% of seats to students coming from economically weaker sections. But same obligation is not imposed on minority education institutions. Now, a Supreme Court observation has been made recently on this regard, so we'll know what are this observation and how it qualifies minority education institution. Do they come under RT or not? Now, this is relevant again from polity, so the relevant paper here becomes GS paper 2. In the fourth article, we'll understand what are bond yields. Now, there has been a possibility that due to certain factors, Indian government's bond yields, they have increased, not reduced. Original expectation that due to lesser market interest rates in India, the bond yield should also reduce, but opposite is happening. So why is opposite happening? We'll have to understand, but first we need to know now what is bond yields. So I will tell you what is bond yields, and this is very much relevant from prelims as well as from GS paper 3 perspective. In the fifth article, we'll cover PM Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana, which is an important Rozgar Yojana of Government of India, and this was announced this year in the budget. Now, this provides employment, and employment is a part of GS paper 3 syllabus. So, we'll cover it in great detail in our today's discussion. And in the last article, we'll understand how a High Court Justice is elevated to the apex court of the country. That is the Supreme Court of India, and this again is done by the collegium system of judicial appointments. So how is a justice of a high court appointed to Supreme Court? What is the role of judiciary? What is the role of government here? We'll try to understand, and this again is important from GS paper 2 perspective. Got it? So these are the important articles that we are going to cover today. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone is all right. Let me see. Good morning, Rupa, Gaurav, Johar to you, Anuj, Amar, hello, Arya, good morning, Adi, good morning, Rishi, good morning, Santwana, Amar, gym transformation, Amar, oh my god, kya hua? Reshma, good morning, Arjun, Jui, Venkat, good morning all of you. Right to education is 2009. GST reform bill will do it tomorrow, Rishi. Okay. Whatever is to be reformed, I have already covered. Good morning from Benjir and Mahamim. Okay, good morning everyone, journal. Now the notes of this session will be available on the Telegram channel as usual. This Telegram channel is called as ATS Live. So you can go to this channel, subscribe to it if you still haven't, and download the notes, and also please hit the like button. Okay. Now let us start our today's discussion with this article. It says Department of Post has partnered with Map My India to promote Digipin. Any idea what is Map My India? How many of you use Map My India's Maples app, or how many of you use Google Maps? Map My India provides navigational services similar to Google Maps, and its app's name is Maples. It is a very good app and also integrated with many Indian businesses also. Now the Department of Post, which comes under Government of India, has signed an MOU with private company Map My India for utilizing the company's mapping platforms and products in order to provide support to Digipin. So in this regard, what is Digipin? That we need to understand. Good morning, Saujanya. Now, Digital Postal Index Number or Digipin is a unique 10-character alphanumeric code that can be generated by any property in India, be it public property, private property, and it can be generated by any property which is as small as 4 by 4 square meters on Indian land. And this has been developed by Department of Post in close collaboration with IIT Hyderabad and National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO. Any idea where is National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO headquartered? This, tell me. Now what Digipin does, that is very important. Now Digipin is an open source, interoperable and privacy focused systems. So when you generate Digipin, the data in the alphanumeric code, which is 10 digit long, it is encoded with the geographical coordinates of the property where you're generating the Digipin, and it does not store any personal information. So it will not replace the traditional 6-digit PIN code system that happens in India. Instead, it is intended to act as an extra layer of precision, which would not just pinpoint the regulated or the required post office, but also the property in precision, and it is built on top of the existing postal address. See, it does not do away with the need of PIN code, it actually adds in the PIN code your geographical details also. Any idea for what numbers does PIN code start? We know Delhi's PIN code is 110001. So the Rajpath or the Kartavya Path that you know today, it has a PIN code which starts from 1. Any idea what is the number till it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? What is the last number through which our PIN code starts? Any idea? Any idea, anyone? Yes, National Remote Sensing Center is headquartered in Hyderabad. And PIN code, the last digit it starts from 8, right? So it starts from 8. PIN code क्या है अनुज तुम्हारा? रांची का है, no, it starts with 8. Solve this question. Dheeraj, Shushmita, good morning. Saujanya, good morning. Eight 834-006. You're from Nangloy 110086. Oh, tell me your PIN codes, everyone. Well, India's PIN code starts from Kartavya Path, that is 110001. And it goes up till 8. So Jharkhand has 8 numbers. Anyone from Andaman and Nicobar? I want to know what is the PIN code of Northeast. Gujarat 3. Santwana, Bengal 7. Okay. I live in Noida, so the PIN code starts from 2. I don't know about Gurugram. Anyone from Gurugram? Okay, 794002 Meghalaya. Anyone else? Now here we have to identify incorrect statements. First statement, it is a 10-digit number that provides location identifying for properties as small as 4 by 4 square kilometers. This is right, but this is incorrect. I told you it is an alphanumeric number, not a number. And it has been jointly developed by Department of Post, IIT Hyderabad and National Remote Sensing Center of ISRO. Correct. Digipin is designed to replace the existing 6-digit PIN code system. Incorrect. It would supplement it would complement, but it would not replace the existing codes, right? So first and third is incorrect, second one is right, option C is your right answer. Venkat, Tamil Nadu, the code must start from 6, right? VIT Vellore's pin code was 632014, if I am not wrong. Now let us move to this next article. India is set to become world's second largest economy in PPP terms by 2038, and this has been a report given by a private company, Ernst & Young. Any idea what Ernst & Young is a kind of a company, what it does? It's a part of Big Four. What is the Big Four I'm trying to refer you here? Is it an IT company or is it something else? Now, according to a report by EY, India is set to become world's second largest economy in PPP terms by 2038. In 2009 or 8, if I'm not remembering correctly, in this year only, India became world's third largest economy in PPP terms, that is purchasing power parity. Any idea what is EY? EY is a kind of consulting company. Have you heard of Deloitte, KPMG, PwC? These are consulting companies. They give consultations to government, they give consultations to other private company. So whenever suppose government wants to start its bus service, so they would have to identify what are the areas where most of the people travel, which are the most important commercial areas, residential areas in the area. So government gives this contract to a consulting company. So it is the responsibility of consulting company to identify important routes and suggest to the government that this is from the place where people live and they travel to this particular place in the district, and then government would start a bus service. So this is the kind of work consulting companies do. They even give consultation to other private companies on how to expand their business, how to provide other objects, or how to conduct market research. Now there are 4 big consulting companies in India, all of who are operating in India, and all of them are foreign based companies. These are Deloitte, EY is Ernst & Young, KPMG and PwC. PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? So these are called as big four consulting companies. You should know that. Now coming back to our discussion, purchasing power parity. Any idea what is purchasing power parity? I can't see the chat. Okay, now I can see it. Thank you, Ishan. Everyone, please like the video also. How many likes have come? Let me see. 12 likes only. 27 are watching now. Please do hit the like button. Now, purchasing power parity index, it adjusts GDP and incomes for the price level that exist in the different countries. Now, to calculate PPP, we require a same basket of goods. Let us assume for simplicity, we are calculating the price of a thali. Now, let us suppose the price of a thali in US, how much it is? $10. Okay. Now, in India, the price of thali may be rupees, say, 250, or let us suppose it's 240. So, in dollar terms, let us suppose if the market exchange rate of $1 is equals to rupees 80. Now, see the difference. You are paying $10 in US to buy a same thali, whereas in India, you are paying roughly $3 for a thali. So, do you think the price of thali is equal in each and every country? The answer is no. Similarly, the prices of different commodities which are used commonly in the different countries are having different prices. So, you need to arrive not just at the market exchange rate, but also the PPP exchange rate. So, can anyone tell me what becomes the PPP exchange rate here? PPP is meaning purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity means for same basket of goods, how much money you are spending, let's say in US, and how much money you are spending in India. So let us assume one McDonald's burger is, let us suppose, $5 in US. Similarly, it must be 80 rupees in US. So what is the purchasing power parity here? 1 Indian rupee or $1 equals to how many rupees? 16 rupees, right? So this is how purchasing power parity is calculated. So it is different than the market exchange rate. The number that you're seeing here, which changes every day, is a market exchange rate. But it does not identify the different levels of inflation in the country, the different levels of prices of goods and commodities in different countries. If you have to calculate for a same basket of goods in different countries, we need to take into account purchasing power parity, which can be different, like I have highlighted you here. So here the purchasing power parity for $1 would become rupees 24. Got this? Which same you're getting for 240 in India, you're getting it for $10. So $1 becomes 240 by 10, that is 24 rupees. This is how purchasing power parity can vary. But we are taking into account just one commodity. Let us assume different commodities which are consumed commonly in both countries. Now it is a better indicator because you are able to compare real living standard and economic sizes in nominal GDP. Now, has any one of your relative recently gone to US and gotten a good job? Anyone? So let us suppose one of your cousins works in Microsoft and his annual salary is $100,000. Similarly, an engineer working in Microsoft, the same company where your cousin has gotten to, if he is working in Hyderabad, he might be getting, let's say, 25 lakh salary. So do you think the companies are paying different amounts of money just because he has gone to US? Why is Microsoft paying higher salary in US? Any idea? Because the inflation level in US or the prices of goods and services are higher in US, or your living expenses are higher in US. That is why they are paying lesser amount of money to a same software engineer, let us suppose, who is living in Hyderabad. So this takes into account the different purchasing parity. So if a person says that I'm earning 100,000 US dollars, that does not mean he is earning 80 lakhs equivalent amount of Indian money. To live in US, he has to spend higher on rents, higher on food, and that is why his salary is higher. Now, in reality, we all know India's rupee is around 88 rupees per dollar. This is the market exchange rate, right? But in reality, $1 in PPP terms roughly is equal to 20 rupees, right? Standard of living and expenses take into account inflation. So this is the market exchange rate, this is the purchasing power parity exchange rate, and we adjust GDP with purchasing power parity. That gives you GDP based on purchasing power parity, and it shows how much currency is needed in one country to buy same basket of goods and services in another country. Now the difference between purchasing power parity exchange rate and market exchange rate. Market exchange rate changes based on demand and supply of currencies in forex market, and it gets changed every day. Similarly, PPP, it reflects cost of living and real purchasing power of your currencies. And top 3 economies right now based on PPP is China, US and India, and it is expected that India will surpass US in 2038. And who is giving this report? One of the big 4 consulting companies known as Ernst Young. Okay. Now, why is India's purchasing power parity GDP expected to rise? First of all, India is in its midst of demographic dividend. What is demographic dividend? Can anyone let me know? Let us suppose I have forgotten it. Can you explain it to me in the comments? Now, India's median age is 28.8 years, which means India's workforce is relatively younger as compared to other countries, which means going forward, our economy is expected to grow, because as more people are in the working year of age, that means lesser amount of your population is in the dependent age. Dependent age means children or senior citizens. So when more people are participating in an economic activity, don't you think economy will grow? And that is why this is one of the key factors. Similarly, India also has a very strong savings and investment rate. More amount of money you save in the financial institutions, more amount of money you invest in, say, mutual fund, stock markets, it leads to more capital creation in the economy. More capital creation means more financing for infrastructure as well as loans that will be given for industries. Similarly, India's macro financial health is also very good. As far as debt sustainability is concerned, India's debt to GDP ratio has expected to fall from 81.3% to 75.8%, and that is an example of fiscal consolidation. I understand due to COVID-19 pandemic, the amount of debt that was taken by government increased, but since then Indian government is on a path of fiscal consolidation, which means slowly by slowly it is going to reduce its overall debt burden, which is a good sign of Indian economy, and that is why India's economy is expected to rise. Similarly, government is also doing many structural reforms. Government introduced GST in 2017. It has reformed GST comprehensively yesterday. Government, to deal with NPA crisis, brought insolvency and bankruptcy code. To promote manufacturing and Atmanirbhar Bharat, it brought production linked incentive scheme. It is taken, give me a second, okay? To promote digitization and adoption of technology, it is promoting use of AI. Similarly, government has a vision for 2047. Any idea why government has brought a vision for 2047? It wants India to make a developed nation by 2047, and 2047 would signify 100 years of India's independence, right? Yes, demographic dividend is when people in the working population is more than the dependent people, right? Yes, working age is considered between 15 to 64 years, not 15 to 50, okay? 15 to 64 years, this is the working age. Don't tell me कि 60 पे retire हो जाते हैं. Does everybody work in government or in private sector? No. People who have private practice, doctors, lawyers, shopkeepers, they work till late. So it is assumed that India's working age is between 15 to 64 years of age. Now, try to solve this question. Now, how many of you self-identify as Kanjus? How many of you self-identify as Kanjus? You know now what is Kanjus? Stingy. There is also a word that has been used as profanity, miserly. Okay, some of you are कंजूस but some of you are not. But you know ना, like करने में पैसे खर्च नहीं होते हैं. You know ना, to hit the like button, you don't have to spend a money, even a penny. Now, PPP exchange rate is calculated by comparing the prices of same basket of goods in different countries, correct. In terms of PPP dollars, this question appeared in 2019. Even then, India was third largest country in terms of GDP in PPP dollars, right? So this is incorrect. This would have been the nominal GDP at that time. India stood at sixth largest. So the correct answer is option A, as many of you have rightly pointed out. अमर जब आता है तभी लाइक करता है ना, डेली तो आता नहीं है अमर. Now let us deal with this article. This is a very good article if you have to understand right to education as well as minority education institution. Now the Supreme Court has raised recent doubts about its own 2014 judgment. That was a judgment given in Pramati Education and Cultural Trust versus Union of India. What is this judgment? We'll find out, no need to worry. Now first let us understand what is Right to Education Act 2010. This act made a provision which mandated private unaided schools to reserve 25% of their seats to children who come from disadvantaged groups and weaker sections. Any idea a very popular Hindi movie dealt with this issue? Have you seen that movie? Can you recall the name of that movie? It starred Irfan Khan and also Deepak Dobriyal. You are good question wala, meme wala person. Now, if a government aided school is there, it has to provide free education under RT. If there is a government funded school, it has to provide free education to those people in the amount or in the proportionate amount of government funding. Whereas private unaided schools, they'll have to reserve at least 25% of their seats to children coming from disadvantaged group, and here the education are provided to free for these children. But in reality, we have seen many schools have started to charge these people also for different kinds of fees, not tuition fees, because tuition fees they can't rely on these people. Okay. Any idea what is the movie which dealt with this issue? Very famous movie, also got, I guess, national award. This was called as Hindi Medium. I guess it released somewhere in 2015 or 16. Starred Irfan Khan. Very good movie if you have seen it. Now, let us deal with what are the constitutional provisions relating to minority education institutions. Now, Article 30, subsection 1 of the Constitution gives all minorities in India the right to set up their own educational institution and administer them without the interference of government. And all minority means religious based minority and linguistic based minority. So they have a right to establish and administer an educational institution of their choice without interference by the government. But do you think there is no interference in the minority education institutions at all? The answer is incorrect. Government, to ensure regulation or provision of adequate level of education, can regulate the appointment of teachers or at least impose a sense of educational based criteria based on which you can ask or hire teachers. Similarly, whether the minority education institutions would have to follow the directions of right to education, this matter reached the Supreme Court of India in the case Pramati Education and Cultural Center versus Union of India case. And in this case, the Supreme Court in 2014, it highlighted that minority education institutions, be it aided or unaided, they are not bound by RTE Act, especially the provision where they have to reserve 25% of seats to economically weaker sections. Also, section 23, which deals with regulation of teacher requirement, it does not apply to minority education. That is, no requirement can be imposed by government to meet teacher qualification norms, including the conduction of teacher eligibility test. So that is why this judgment given by Supreme Court actually obviated the need of these institutions providing 25% reservation, and also obviated the need of imposing any educational based requirement on teachers, right? Now, Article 15(5), it also empowers state to make special provisions by law for advancement of socially and educationally backward classes, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes in matters relating to admissions in the education institutions. It includes private educational institutions, be it aided or unaided by the state. But here, you can provide reservation in the admissions of schools and colleges under this particular judgment. But under this article also, this excludes minority education institutions when they are covered under Article 30. So, our minority education institutions don't have to provide reservations to these sections of society because they have been excluded from the reservation policy under Article 15 and Article 30. Got this? Now tell me the correct answer of this question quickly. Article 15(5) actually exempts minority education institutions from reservation. So second one is incorrect. First one is right. Option A is your right answer. Yes. One only. Good. Now let us talk about this article. India's 10-year benchmark bond yields are rising despite RBI rate cuts. Here's why. So you need to first understand what is bond yields, how it increases or reduces. Then only you will understand now why this article appeared in the newspaper. So India's 10-year benchmark government bond yields have risen by 26 basis points. What is a basis point? Any idea? 100 basis points equals to 1%. So 26 basis point means 0.26%. Okay. And it has increased in the past month despite RBI cutting the repo rate by 1% over the past 7 months. Now, can you tell me the essential characteristics of a bond? What are bonds? Bonds are debt instruments which is issued by companies and governments to take borrowings from the public. Now, bonds generally have three different qualities. They have face value, they have maturity, and they have coupon rate. Let us suppose a bond has been issued by government, which is also called as government security, and it has a face value of rupees 200, maturity of 10 years, and a coupon rate of, let's say, 10%. So if an investor, you and I, if we invest in this bond, can you tell me what would be the bond prices when they are issued directly by the RBI? So if you and I, we go and buy this bond who has a face value of 200 rupees, this would make the bond price equal to face value. And the rate of return or the interest that we are making out of this transaction, also called as bond yield, this is 10%, which means for 200 rupees worth of investment, we are going to get rupees 20 as interest from the government. Got? So government is going to pay a fixed amount of interest, that is 10% on the face value of this bond, which is 20 rupees. So government's obligation of interest is same every time, that is 20 rupees. Now this was what we were dealing that happened in primary market. But you can also buy and sell bond in the secondary market like stock market. So what happens then? Let us understand it. Now suppose I sell this bond to Jui, okay. Now Jui bought this bond from me at rupees 190 and I sold this bond to Rishi at 210 rupees. So what is the bond price that Jui paid for this bond? Any idea, Jui? And Rishi, what is the bond price that you paid to me for buying of this bond in the secondary market? Jui bought this bond from me at 190 rupees. Rishi bought this bond from me at 210 rupees. The prices of stocks can change. Similarly, in the secondary market like stock market, the prices of bonds also change depending upon demand and supply. So suppose government bonds are in lot of supply, so I have sold this bond to Jui at a discounted price of 190. Now tell me how much interest would Jui earn on this bond? The interest in rupees that the Jui would earn is equal to rupees 20. Similarly, the interest that Rishi earns on this bond is equal to rupees 20. I have told you government is going to pay 10% of the face value every time. So government is going to pay you 20 rupees as interest. Now tell me what would be the yield that Jui is making on this bond and what will be the yield that Rishi is making on this bond? Can you tell me, both of you? What is the rate of return that you're getting out of this investment? What is yield? It is the interest divided by bond prices into 100. This is interest divided by bond prices into 100. Now CSAT करो, कितना आएगा yield in terms of percentage? In terms of percentage, this is, sorry, it is 30 for Jui, right? So her return that she is making out of this transaction is 30 rupees, that she has gotten this bond at lesser interest rate. And Rishi is making 10 rupees. So tell me the yield now. Got this? So who has gotten a better yield? Jui has gotten a better yield. Why? Because she bought a bond whose face value was 200 at a discounted rate of 19. Therefore, she has made a higher profit. Okay. And Rishi bought this bond at an expensive rate, so is making a lesser interest rate or lesser yield on this return. So can I say bond yields are indirectly proportional of bond prices? If bond prices increase as it has increased in cases of Rishi, don't you think bond yields have reduced? And similarly, bond price reduced in case of Jui. So Jui earned higher yields. Got this? Now, whenever a question appears in the exam that X or Y event or Z events has led to changes in bond yield, so you don't calculate directly. You know what is the best method to calculate bond yield? Let us assume how X and Y event would change the bond prices. And you know, bond prices and bond yields are inversely proportional. So this is a better way to find bond yields. This would be very difficult. So try to do this. Now tell me, if rate of interest in Indian economy increases, rate of interest, I mean repo. So how will it lead to changes in demand for bonds? If RBI increases the repo rate, will the demand for bond increase or reduce? Tell me. Well, government is going to pay you 10% of face value. But we have understood face value is only applicable for the initial investor. Afterwards, a person, if they want money urgently, they can sell their bond at cheaper interest rate or cheaper rate to people like Jui. How will it lead to increase in demand? If you are an investor, if government RBI is increasing the repo rate, don't you think banks will offer you higher rate for FD? Right? So you as an investor, you'd invest your money where? In FD or in bonds? You would want better return. And in case repo rate increases, FD rates would increase, and so you'd invest your money in FD. So demand for bonds would fall down. And when demand of bonds fall down, it leads to reduction in the value of bond prices, and therefore bond yields, they increase. Right? Now tell me, if US Federal Bank increases its Fed rate, how it will lead to changes in demand of Indian government security? If Fed rate increases, don't you think investors would want to invest their money in US banks. So they will pull out their investment in Indian government securities. So again, demand of bonds in India would fall, bond prices would fall, and therefore bond yields would increase. Similarly, tell me, if there is an inflation in India, how will it impact bond prices and bond yield? Batao jaldi jaldi. We are not going into rupee depreciation, we are just dealing with bond yields. If there is an inflation in India, RBI would follow which kind of policy? To control inflation? Hawkish. So it will increase the repo rate. And when repo rate increases, rate of interest in Indian economy increases. So you as an investor would invest in banks, not in bond yields. So demand of bonds fall, bond prices fall, and bond yields increase. So write it somewhere. Bond yields are directly proportional to rate of interest in US or in India. It is directly proportional to rate of inflation in India. Right? So whenever a question comes, now I've told you, I've explained it to you, how rate of interest in India impact bond yield, how inflation in India impact bond yield. Bond yield is a return an investor gets on government bonds. Bond yield is coupon payment divided by current prices of the bond into 100. So sorry, I got confused. Here you have to divide 20 by 190, right? Here also you'll have to divide 20 by 210. I got confused. इतना चीज दिमाग में होता है ना कि I got confused. So this is the formula. When bond prices rise, bond yield. क्या कर रहा हूं मैं? When bond prices rise, bond yield falls. And when bond prices fall, bond yields rise. इसको करेक्ट कर लेना, सॉरी. Normally, when RBI cuts the repo rate, borrowings become cheaper, demand for bond rises, then it leads to reduction in bond yield, right? But is bond yield reducing? The answer is no. So rate cut usually leads to falling of bond yields, but in reality it has been increasing. Why it has been increasing? Because of RBI's hawkish stance. Hawkish means RBI is more concerned about controlling inflation than supporting growth. So RBI signaled to the market that in future it may not cut the rates further because of global trade tensions, oil prices shocks, and domestic fiscal issues. So investors are apprehensive. If they continue to invest in bond, they would miss out on the returns that they would get from the banks, and that is why the bond demand has fallen down. And when bond demand fall down, bond prices fall down and bond yields rise. Similarly, higher government borrowing concern would show that supply of bonds of government securities will increase in future, and whenever supply of any commodity increase, its prices fall, and therefore the bond yields would rise. So when government indicates that it is going to borrow in future, it would mean that in future the supply of government securities will increase, and therefore it would push down the prices, leading to increase in yield. Got this? Any doubt? More supply of bonds in the market, lower bond prices, higher yields. Now solve this question. Yes, all of it. So whenever a question comes on bond yield, you will first calculate what? Will you go directly to bond yields? Yes, all of them are right. Now we'll cover the rest two articles tomorrow, okay? बहुत हो गया आज के लिए. We have like 2 more articles left. We'll cover it tomorrow. So have a great day, everyone. Any doubts? Saturday most likely we'll have an AMA, okay?